using hard versus soft power. Power is often defined as the potential ability of one person to influence others to carry out orders or do something they otherwise would not have done. Power is the potential ability of one person in an organization to influence other people to bring about desired outcomes. It is the potential to influence others within the organization with the goal of attaining desired outcomes for power holders. Power can be categorized as either hard power or soft power. Hard power is power that stems largely from a person's position of authority. This is the approach to power typically taken by Machiavellian leader styles. Transformational, charismatic, and coalitional leaders also use hard power, but they rely more often on soft power, which is based on personal characteristics and interpersonal relationships. Power is realized through the process of politics and influence. Influence refers to the effect a person's actions have on the attitudes, values, beliefs, or actions of others. Whereas power is the capacity to cause a change in a person, influence may be thought of as the degree of actual change. Most discussions of power include 5 types that are available to leaders. Hard power includes legitimate, reward, and coercive power, which are defined largely by the organization's policies and procedures. Effective leaders don't rely solely on the hard power of their formal position to influence others. Soft power includes expert power and referent power. Legitimate power is the authority gained from a formal position in an organization. Certain rights, responsibilities, and prerogatives accrue to anyone holding a formal leadership position. Followers accept the legitimate rights of formal leaders to set goals, make decisions, and direct activities. Power that stems from the authority to bestow rewards on other people is called reward power. Leaders control resources and their distribution. Leaders with reward power can use rewards to influence subordinates' behavior. The opposite of reward power is coercive power. It refers to the power to punish or recommend punishment. Supervisors have coercive power when they have the right to fire or demote subordinates, criticize, or withdraw pay increases. Coercive power is the negative side of legitimate and reward power. Power resulting from a leader's special knowledge or skill regarding tasks performed by followers is referred to expert power. When a leader is a true expert, subordinates go along with recommendations because of his or her superior knowledge. Leaders at the supervisory level often have experience in the production process that gains them promotion. At top management levels, however, leaders may lack expert power because subordinates know more about technical details than they do. Referent power. This kind of power comes from a leader personality characteristics that command followers' identification, respect, and admiration. Referent power depends on the leader's personal characteristics rather than on a formal title or position, and is especially visible in the area of charismatic leadership. Here's an example from Fortune magazine. She rubs elbows with Sheryl Sandberg, Indra Nooyi, and Warren Buffett. Never heard of her? Maybe that's because she's the one sometimes writing the splashy articles that are featured on the cover of Fortune magazine, rather than being the subject of them. Patricia Sellers, who is known as Patty to friends, joined Fortune in 1984, 2 years out of college, and has been exploring power in her stories ever since. Over those years, she has also consistently expanded her own power based on expertise, relationships, and personal style. She is just unabashed in her quest for the perfect story, said Sue Calloway, Seller's former editor. Seller came up with the idea of ranking the most powerful women in 1998 and sold it to the higher-ups at Fortune and to the high-ranking women themselves, based on her enthusiasm and the credibility she had built with her journalism. A year later, a passionate desire to connect women and give them a chance to talk about big business issues of the day led her to start the annual conference. Knowing for being somewhat shy early in her career, Seller now charms conference attendees as easily if they were old friends, and by now many of them are. I get invited to a lot of things, Warren Buffett said, but this is the one I clear the calendar for. At the 2011 conference, Buffett sat patiently waiting because a photographer wanted a shot of him with Sellers. Many people would have dropped everything to do the photo shoot, but part of Sellers' power comes from treating everyone the same. She was busy with other guests. The Oracle of Omaha had to wait, just like everyone else would, but he didn't seem to mind. She gets together women that no one else has ever gotten together before, he says, and she makes you feel good about it. Charismatic leadership, described earlier, is intensely based on the relationship between leader and followers and relies heavily on either referent or expert power. However, all good leaders may use these types of power rather than using position power alone. Leaders use various types of power to influence others to do what is necessary to accomplish organizational goals. There are 3 distinct outcomes that may result from the use of power: compliance, resistance, and commitment. When people successfully use hard position power, legitimate, reward, coercive, the response is compliance. Compliance means that people follow the directions of the person with power, whether or not they agree with these directions. The problem is that in many cases, followers do just enough work to satisfy the leader and may not contribute their full potential. If the use of hard power, especially the use of coercion, exceeds the level people consider legitimate, some followers will actively resist the attempt to influence. Resistance means that employees will deliberately try to avoid carrying out instructions or will attempt to disobey orders. Thus, the effectiveness of leaders who rely solely on position power is limited. The follower response, most often generated by soft, personal, and interpersonal power, is commitment. Commitment means that followers adopt the leader's viewpoint and enthusiastically carry out instructions. Commitment is preferred to compliance or resistance. Although compliance alone may be enough for routine matters, commitment is particularly important when the leader is promoting change. Change carries risk or uncertainty, and the follower commitment helps to overcome fear and resistance associated with change efforts. Successful leaders exercise both personal and position power in influencing others. Acquiring and using power is largely a political process. Politics involves activities to acquire, develop, and use power and other resources to obtain desired future outcomes when there is uncertainty or disagreement about choices. Politically skillful leaders strive to understand others' viewpoints, needs, desires, and goals, and use their understanding to influence people to act in ways that help the leader accomplish his or her goals for the team or organization. Individuals also engage in political activity within organizations. Although some people have a negative view of politics, the appropriate use of political behavior serves organizational goals. Politics is a natural process for resolving differences among organizational interest groups. Political behavior can be either a positive or a negative force. Uncertainty and conflict are natural in organizations, and politics is the mechanism for accomplishing things that can't be handled purely through formal policies or position power. The appropriate use of power and politics to get things done is an important aspect of leadership. A frame is a perspective from which a leader views the world, and it influences how the leader interacts with followers, makes decisions, and exercises power. The four leader frames of reference are structural, human resource, political, and symbolic. Leaders often begin with a limited structural perspective and develop the other frames as they mature and climb higher in their leadership development, thus achieving a more balanced mindset and approach. The organization is a machine, is the dominant image in the structural frame of reference. The structural frame places emphasis on plans, goal setting, and classifying expectations as a way to provide order, efficiency, and stability. This frame views the organization as a rational system and strives for clarity of direction and control of results. According to the human resource frame, people are the organization's most valuable resource. This frame defines problems and issues in interpersonal teams and looks for ways to adjust the organization to meet human needs. The images in this view are a sense of family, belonging, and the organization as a clan. The political frame views organizations as arenas of ongoing conflict or tension over the allocation of scarce resources. Leaders spend their time networking and building coalitions to influence decisions and actions. Power and politics are considered a natural and healthy part of organizational life. To use the full leadership potential requires that leaders also develop a fourth frame of reference, the symbolic frame, in which leaders perceive the organization as a system of shared meaning and values. Rather than relying only on the use of formal power or the use of political tactics, leaders focus on shared vision, culture, and values to influence others. Leaders are concerned with spirit and meaning, and they focus on harnessing followers' dreams and emotion for the benefit of the organization and all its people. Leaders can first understand their own natural frame, recognize its limitations, and then learn to integrate multiple frames to achieve their full leadership potential.